So that we've got four words we wanted to focus in on. The first one is roots. So can we get a picture up? There we go. Those are roots. That's a tree with some
Epic
roots.
picture of roots.
Those are epic roots. So we want to put down roots. But did you know there's two different types of roots? There's this sort of roots and there's this sort of roots. Okay? We live in a generation and in a city where everybody's focused on these sort of routes, planning a route of where they're going to go next, what they're going to go and do this weekend, what part of Europe they'll visit, routes of where you're going to live next, what's your job going to be, are you going to move to New York, are you going to move to Beijing, are you going to move to somewhere else in the world, where are you going, what is the next step? And it's in our culture all the time. Everything is telling us, move, keep going, keep pressing forward, what's next, what is available to you. And we're a people who make routes, but we want to be different. As a church, in fact, in order to see all that God is going to do in us and through us, we believe we need to put down roots, the roots like on the tree, roots that go deep, because roots on the tree, can we have the tree picture up again? I just like those roots. They are deep, they stretch down. Not only do they support the tree to keep it stood up straight, they also dig down and find the best nutrients, the best access to water in order to give that tree life. Well, we are hoping to be a church where we can put down roots. We would love to invite you to put down roots at Liberty Church, because at Liberty Church, just like a tree, we want to give you nourishment. We want you to grow. We want you to get everything you need to flourish as you follow Jesus. And we get that by putting down roots. Now, can I say, if you are new, if you're watching online from somewhere else, or you're new to London and actually you don't think this is your church community, hopefully you've been welcomed here. You're like, you guys are nice, but this isn't where God's calling me to. We're completely okay with that. What we'd love to encourage you to do is find a church and put down roots, wherever it is. If you're visiting this week from somewhere else, if you're watching online, find a local church community and put down roots in that local church. Be part of that local church. If you're here and you're in London, we would love it to be with Liberty. You are totally welcome here. But we want to encourage you to put down roots. Roots are incredible. Roots bring nourishment, bring health, give strength. There was a couple. Now, you might be thinking, you might be sat here going, oh, that sounds great, putting down roots, but I'm only in London for a couple of years, or 6 months, or 3 months. I'm only in London while this work placement lasts, or my university course is running, and once that's finished, I have to move on. But you can still put down roots for a season. When we launched in September 2019, just before a global pandemic changed everything. We launched in a high school near Euston Station, and we connected to a young couple through online who were moving to London for a 6-month university placement. They were kind of working with UCL. They were coming over from somewhere in America. Any idea? It's somewhere in the middle. You know, the middle part, the part where you fly over usually, you don't go to. They were from the part where you don't go. Minnesota. It could have been Minnesota, yeah. Okay, Megan and Brandon were their names. They came over 6 months from, I'm going to go with Minnesota. If you're watching Megan and Brandon, sorry if it's wrong. And they came and they said, we feel God has connected us to Liberty Church. And in essence, we're going to put down roots. We're only here for 6 months, but we are in. They were here not serving every Sunday. They were in the community every Sunday. They joined teams and served regularly. They were in community groups. Even though they were only in Europe for 6 months, they did go and visit other places, but they were there pretty much every single Sunday, week in, week out. They planned their other type of routes to go to visit places, not to interfere with their roots of being in the church community. Now, that was several years ago. We've had the pandemic since then, but I still remember the impact that Megan and Brandon made. In fact, I think we would not be where we are today without what they did, without their willingness to serve and to sow and to put their time in to make a difference, to make Liberty Church London happen. Well, that's Megan and Brandon, one couple who were with us for 6 months 3 years ago. What if a room full of us, all of us said, okay, I'm going to put down roots. I'm going to put down roots. I'm going to be planted here. I'm going to get nutrients from this church, but I'm also going to make an impact here. And so that's one of the things that David referred to. You may have heard him say about this thing we're going to introduce called covenant membership. Did you guys hear that? Covenant membership. This is something which isn't actually very common in UK churches as far as I know. but it's quite common in US churches. We are going to start a membership system. We would like you, if you are part of Liberty, if you call Liberty home, say, yes, I am in, I want to be a member. I want to join the church. I don't just want to be someone who shows up. I want to be an official member of Liberty Church. We're going to start it in 2023, but in the next month, we're going to have a time when you can come and find out more about it. It's not going to be a full membership course, but it is going to be like an introduction to Liberty membership and what it means. But it'll give you, hopefully it'll give you more of a voice. You won't just, again, it won't be you show up and, well, whatever happens will happen. You'll get more of a say, because this isn't something that Tash and I are doing. This is something that we get to do together as we follow Jesus. Now, if you're interested in membership, and you don't need to decide you'll be a covenant member yet, but if you are interested, we've got some activities to do after the service. I want to introduce you to our first activity. The lights are down, so you can't really see, but at the very back, you may see that there's a big picture of a tree, or broccoli, whichever you think it is, and at the bottom are some hands, where people who are part of our church community who were setting up, you draw a picture of your hand, you draw around your hand, you write your name on it, you cut it out, and you stick it at the roots. And that's a way of just symbolically saying, yes, I am putting my roots down at Liberty Church London.
Amazing. So roots is our first word, health is our second. So we want to be moving at the speed of health. One of the things I'm particularly fascinated with is the marathon. I love watching the marathon. Every time it's on in London, I make Jonny and the kids come and sit and cheer people on. And people after about 5 minutes, they're like, can we go home now? And I'm like, no, go on, Sue, you can do it. Well done, Dave. I just find it fascinating that these people can run that far. And then after the marathon, I love reading the stories about the people that ran the marathon. And this year, one really stood out to me. And it was about a guy called Richard Lee Wright. He's your average guy. He is not a professional runner. But about 7 years ago, he made a bet with his friend that he would lead the marathon. And so at the beginning of this marathon this year, he finally got into the marathon this year. And he had got a good enough time in previous races to be at the front pack. Not the professionals, but the one after the professionals. And so as the race started, Richard sprinted forward. He legged it, and he made it to the front, in front of the professionals. And his dream is like, yes, I've made it. I'm now leading the marathon. And he led it for about probably a minute and a half before the professionals overtook. I just find that fascinating that he did that. But what's interesting is that he obviously outran his capacity. He couldn't run that speed for the entire time, and so he had to really reduce his speed. And he did finish the marathon, but nowhere near the professionals, nowhere near some of the other people in his front pack, because he'd overextended himself in that first section. And so we as a church want to be a church that are moving, leading, and growing at the speed of health.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, there are two approaches to health. One is reactive. One is to wait for yourself to be sick or to be injured or to be, desperately in need of medical attention and go to the doctors or go to A&E. And the second is proactive. It's eating healthier, it's exercising, it's taking vitamins, it's, drinking smoothies like we did this morning. Both Jonny and I have actually experienced the first one, the reactive, where you actually hit emergency point, where you need to stop. And a few years ago, when we first moved to London, I was working a 5-day-a-week job. I was mumming for 2 kids. I was trying to plant the church with Jonny, and I overextended myself. I did not move at my speed of health, and I got to a point where I was exhausted and had literally nothing left in me to give, because I'd given beyond not just my energy, I'd given all the reserves as well. And I eventually had to be signed off work for 6 weeks and literally just rested and recuperated and slept for that time, really recovering from overextending myself. And so we both have experienced that, and we both know that that's not what we want to do. We don't want to push forward and then have to stop for 6 weeks and then push forward and stop. We want to be running at the speed of health. We want to be running constantly and consistently. Longevity is not a very cool word, but that's what we want. Yeah. We want longevity in this church. And so for us, that looks like us personally, as David and Carrie mentioned in the video, it looks like them having sort of pastoral care for us.
Yeah.
They're going to be putting a lot of effort into supporting us as pastors of this community. According to a recent survey, 42% of pastors have considered quitting in the last year. That's a shocking stat, and pastors are dropping like flies. We see it in the news, we see it in our Instagrams, and we don't want to be those flies. And so we are going to commit to our health. We're going to commit to our Sabbath. We Sabbath on a Friday. So we're committing, and I'm saying this to you now, if you message us on a Friday or email us on a Friday, you are unlikely to get a response from us. And we're going to get better at that. We sort of lost it over the last couple of months. We have committed to each other that we're going to get better at that and Sabbath on a Friday. So you'll get a response on a Saturday. We're also going to commit to our marriage, and we're going to commit to our family and invest in those things as well. And that's how we're going to sort of ensure that our health doesn't cause us to stop. But as a church, we want you as individuals and as a community for us to also be moving at the speed of health. And so in terms of teams, that looks like rotas. You know, we have a phenomenally gifted group of musicians and singers, and we saw 3 of them up here today. We could put on probably a band of 12 people every week and it'd be epic. Yeah. You know, drummers every week, keyboard players every week, 7 vocalists. It might sound brilliant, but we would not be able to sustain that. Yeah. We might be able to sustain it for a month, maybe 2, but eventually our entire worship team would experience burnout, and that's not what we want. So we have rotas for that reason, and the same with all the other teams in our church. And so we want people to be serving, but we also want people to be being in the community on a Sunday, not serving. Andy often used to say that the most important Sunday is the Sunday you're not serving, because you get to be in the service, you get to be in worship, you get to experience it, you get to connect with people, you get to receive rather than just constantly give out. And so I want to encourage you, if you're on team, make sure you're here on the Sundays you're not serving, so that you be investing in your health. If you're not on a team, why not join a team? You could be the person that helps that team have a better rota. Yeah. You could be that person that stops someone serving 3 out of 4. We can all do that. So let's move forward consistently at the speed of health. The third word, so we've had roots and health, or health is the smoothies that you've had this morning. So there's no practical activity, but there will be more smoothies and orange juice for you afterwards if you want some. Vitamins, yeah. Get all that vitamin C. So strength is the third word, the third element that we're focusing on in this vision. Building strength within our community. Building together, each working to play our part that God has called us to participate in the work that that is building his church. Our son, Josiah, one of his favourite games is Jenga. He loves Jenga. If you come round to our house, he will probably get the Jenga out. He'll ask you to get on the floor and play Jenga with him. He's fascinated by the fact that you can pull out a block and make the structure less sturdy. And the excitement when it finally falls down. It erupts in our house. And so with Jenga block, when all the blocks are participating, the structure is pretty sturdy. Josiah will often build things and try and rest things on it to try and figure out if it's sturdy enough. And so it can be quite strong. But as you continue to remove the pieces, the structure becomes less sturdy, less strong, and eventually it topples. You see, God calls each of us to play our part, not to be on our own, but to come into the community and bring what God has given us to play our part. We're all invited to join the structure, to add strength. And when we do that, we don't just add strength to the whole, we add strength to others as individuals. This week, Jonny and I moved house, and the incredible Tobiah served so hard on Wednesday. He helped us out, and he just blew us away with his service and the way he just helped us move all these boxes and furniture. And there's so many boxes that I packed that I didn't realise that I wouldn't be able to lift. You know, I'm not exactly the strongest person in the world, and not a tench. And what Tobiah was able to do is he was able to come alongside us, and he added strength to the whole process of moving house, but he also added strength to me. I was able to half lift up a box, and he could lift up the other half, making me feel stronger. So God calls us to do that. So we're going to be pursuing strength as a community. What that looks like is we're going to be running some courses, some maybe leadership training courses. We're going to be doing our schools of worship, which we're going to be running on sort of a bi-monthly basis to develop and invest in our worship team. We're going to continue to put on sort of apologetics courses and like discipleship training courses so that we can discuss what it means to be a follower of Jesus. And we want everyone to be bringing what they've got into the community to add strength. And we're also going to be pursuing freedom, because one of the things that hold us back from being strong is the things that we need freedom from. And that might be addictions. It might be past hurt that's causing us to, causing problems in our current lives. And so we're going to be looking into what that looks like. How can we run some sort of freedom course so that each of us can find freedom in our lives and thrive, so that together as a collective community, we can also be thriving and strong.
Fantastic. And
Hang on.
Sorry. Sorry.
And so what we'd love you to do, the activity for this is on the table just over here at the back. There's some Jenga blocks, which JJ has been playing with already this morning. And what we'd love you to do is just to take a pen and to write what you're committing to growing in this year.
That's good.
What are you committing to grow in strength in? Maybe that's your leadership. Maybe it's your guitar playing skills. Maybe it's I'm going to get better at AV, or I'm going to bring my hospitality skills to the table. And we'd love you to write on it, and then we'll start to build the sort of Jenga structure. Now it's your turn.
That was my turn, yeah. Sorry, I was just so excited because the last word is impact. I like a good, forceful word, impact. We were going through loads of different words to come up with our 4 words, and yeah, impact is what I went with. Like, there could have been other ones, but impact. It just feels like Hollywood. I love it. It's very exciting. Okay, I've got a question for you. See, participation, right? Imagine you doing a domino rally, you know, where you set loads of dominoes up and you hit one and hits the next one and knocks it down, and then that hits the next one and knocks it down, and then that hits the next one, and so on. You know what I'm talking about, dominoes? Right, imagine you start with a domino which is 0.5 centimeter tall, 5 millimeters high, tiny little domino. And then the next domino is 1.5 times bigger. So that would be, how big would that be? 1.5 times bigger. Someone who's good at maths, I worked out 2 dominoes.
1.5 centimeters?
No, 1.5 times bigger. So 2 centimeters,
Okay.
I think. Is that right?
No idea.
Boom. 1.7. We've got 1.75 at the back. Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, we're going to go with 1.75. And then the next one is 1.5 times bigger than that. I'm definitely not going to try those maths. And the next one is 1.5 times bigger than that. Okay. So you're starting off with 5 millimeters high, and every time you increase by 1.5 times, the next domino is 1.5 times bigger. How many dominoes then, are you with me, would it take until you could knock down the Empire State Building with your next domino? Okay, how many dominoes? Who's going more than 1,000 dominoes? Less than 1,000? What do you reckon? 200? 200. Any advance on 200? 900? Oh, I'm liking your thinking, 900. 40. Wow. Well, you're all wrong. Because according to, and let me get this guy's name right, because I like to, show my research. According to Professor Stephen Morris from the University of Toronto in Canada, using this system of dominoes, starting with a domino which is only 0.5 centimeter tall, you could knock down the Empire State Building in 29 dominoes. Yeah, you were close. You were good. That's the rate of increase. Okay, 1.5 centimeter high domino cannot do that on its own. Breaking news. But when you add things together, the impact increases dramatically, exponentially. We, as a church, are not the biggest church, but it's not about numbers. If we are all in, if we all go all in, we can have a tremendous impact. In 29 dominoes to knock down the Empire State Building, well, what about 50 people who are committed to following Jesus, who put down roots in this city, who are healthy, who are serving, who encourage one another, who support one another, who meet together all the time to pray, to worship God, to sit under teaching? What would 50 people who are passionately all in do in this city? what an impact we will have. We were talking this morning about how Jesus said to Peter, I will build my church and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And I'd forgotten about this, but Anthony was talking in our team meeting today about it. And we often think, well, I don't know about you, I've read that verse many times and thought the gates of hell is like hell trying to attack the church. And the gates of hell won't prevail, which means that the attacks of hell won't take us down as a church. But gates, well, they don't attack, do they? That's not what gates do. Gates are to protect. You close your gate to keep people out. And the church, according to Jesus himself, says that the gates of hell, the gates designed to keep the church out, won't be able to stop us going in and raiding hell. We're going to go into the dark places. We're going to go into the places where the lost are, and we are going to see lives transformed. That's Jesus' promise to us. And Jesus, he doesn't lie. He tells the truth all the time, and he's the same yesterday, today, and forever, and we can trust his promises. So we imagine this room, 50 people passionately committed to putting down roots. What an impact we will make. What a transformation this city could see. We're not talking about in 100 years' time. I believe that we, from today, could see the start of a real, authentic revival. It just takes us all to say yes. So our activity to mark that is, we've got a map over in the corner over there. Don't worry, when the service ends, we'll put the lights on so you can actually see things. It's a map of London. It's quite a detailed map of London. And so everyone pretty much, apart from Will, who lives a million miles away, will be on this map. What we want you to do is find where you live and put a blue dot. There's little blue stickers, a blue sticker where you live and where you work or go to university or study, and put a red dot. Because I honestly believe when everyone in this room does that, and the map, we will see that there's a huge spread of us around this city. And we gather on a Sunday, but we don't gather for the sake of gathering. We gather to be scattered across the city throughout the week, to be the hands and feet of Jesus wherever it is that we live, wherever it is that we work, wherever it is we spend our time. We can be the hands and feet of Jesus in those places. We can have an impact in those places. And when we see it sort of as a visual, I think, I honestly, there's about, I don't know how many dots. There's already a load of dots from people who are serving on team this morning. And it's already like, wow, we are impacting the whole of, like, all across this city. There's people who we live with, who we work with, who are baristas, who are having an encounter with Christians, people who follow Jesus all across London. We can really, really have a huge impact as a church. So we're gonna wrap up. Well, we're not going to wrap up there. We're going to wrap up this portion of Vision Sunday there. We're going to go into a time of worship. So can the team come and join us? Is that okay? We're going to go into time of worship. What I want us to do is, as we sing, as we declare these songs about how good, how great our God is, I want us to do it with all of our hearts. But I also want to do it prophetically, believing for this church to grow in health, for us to grow strong roots, for us to have an impact across London. Maybe as you're praying and singing, maybe you can pray and ask God to give you pictures of people in your world who you can connect with, who you can be praying for on a daily basis, who you can invite to come and gather with us on a Sunday, or go to community group, or come and play football when we play football here on Thursdays. You can be praying for people. Let's really lift God up high. Let's worship him. Let's believe for him to have an impact. The gates of hell will not prevail against the church. Let's stand together and let's worship.